Hello everyone and welcome to this Blender Guys tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create a bunch of balloons. So we're going to jump right in there. A, and delete everything. Shift A, circle, and down here we're going to change the vertex count to 16. And if you hit 1 to go into front view, and we're going to be using a background image, so hit N and check background images, add image, and open. I got these off Pixabay. It's this pink one right here, a little big, so we're gonna change the size to 1.25. That's about right. Hit N to close it. Tab into edit mode and hit EZ. Scale it up. EZS. EZS. Pretty much the same thing. EZS. Pull this down a little. EZ. Now for the top here, gonna hit E, right click, Alt M, merge at center. Pull that up. There you go. Hit Alt, right click to select an edge loop. EZ. Scale it down. For down here, we're going to hit E, S, Z. We're going to hit E, scale it pretty small. And E, Z, scale it up. E, Z, pull this up a little. And we're going to hit E, S, and then select face select mode, and Alt right click, select an edge loop, E, Z, go back into vertex select, and Alt right click, E, S, pull it down along the Z, E, S, E, Z, scale it down, about right there. And if you hit Z to go into wireframe, A, and then B for box select, back into solid shading, Control plus, we're just going to pull this down. And there's your balloon, but it's kind of faceted, so we'll go Control 2, add a subdivision surface modifier, and hit smooth. The top here's a little pointy, so select this and go Control plus 2 times, hit S, Shift Z, so it'll scale on all the axes except for the Z. Same thing, Control plus, size, Shift Z. Scale it up on the Z a little. Alt to select this edge loop. Looks good. Now for down here, we're going to add in a little knot. Z to go into wireframe, select this portion with B for box select, Shift S, cursor to select it. Shift A, add a torus. Major segments will be 16, minor will be 8. And it's way too big, scale it down. But now it's getting too skinny, so hit Alt S to fatten it up. Pull it along the Z. Hit Shift D, rotate it, select this one with Control L, and there's a knot. Hit smooth again, and we're going to do something to make this a little less circular. Select this part, 2 right there, couple more, but you don't want this vertex. 1 right there, and 2 right there. S, Shift Z, and grab it along the Z, and that'll just make it so it's not a perfect circle. Looks good. And let's rotate this actually. Go into 1 for front view, rotate this to the side. There you go. And okay, now for the string. Since the cursor is already there from when we added the knot, let's hit Shift A, add a curve, and Bezier. Tab into edit mode, R, Y, -90. And if you look, it's kind of crooked, so R, X 45, and that'll straighten it out. Pull this along the Z. For the string, we're gonna rotate that, scale it way down, because what we want to do is we want to loop it around here. And actually, you can see what we're doing better if we go up to the curve properties and under geometry tab, turn up the extrude, and that'll make a string. I'm gonna pull this over here. Just position it so you have it roughly all the way around. And then, if there's a sharp corner here, you can just scale it up, pull it out, something like that. Maybe scale it up even more, just like that. And we don't want a perfectly straight string, so we're gonna scale this up and E, something like that. And in order to pose the balloons easily, we're gonna select the top part with B for box select, Control H, hook to new object. And what that's done is it's added an empty, and the empty is controlling the top of the string. So now we'll select the balloon, shift select the empty, Control P, parent it. So now it's the top of the string and the balloon. Tab back into edit mode on the string, Control H, hook to new object, Control H, hook to new object. So now it's super easy to pose the balloon. Select everything with A, and hit Alt D to make a duplicate, but they're linked. And what that means is there's just a 2 here now. And if you deselect the bottom empty in the string and the balloon, G, rotate these off to the side, put these over there, and we'll do the same thing, select them all, Alt D, deselect the bottom string and empty, and deselect the balloon, move them over here, grab the string, and just pose until you have a nice pose. And now it's time to add a material to it. So select all the balloons and go to the material tab and hit new. I'm going to name this balloon, and we're going to drag up this window, change it from the timeline to the node editor. First we need to change this to Cycles Render Engine and GPU. Use nodes. Okay, so for the material, oh wait, first we need to add lighting, because if you go into the render viewport, it's pretty much black. So for the world, we're going to add a new one, click environment texture, and open. I got mine off CC search, which you can find. The one I'm using is like a park. And I'm going to go over to the render settings and turn transparent on under film, so it's just black. And we're going to add a ground plane, Shift A, add plane, scale this up, pull it down, just for some nice bounce lighting, and we're going to add a sun. we set the strength to 3. If we go back into solid viewport, I'm going to move it over here, go into top view with 7, rotate it about right there. Now if you go back into rendered viewport with Shift Z, select a balloon and we'll start the material. So for the material, we are going to use a diffuse and we're going to mix it with a transparent. And if you have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled, which I do, right there, you can just hold Alt and right click and drag and it'll add a mix shader. Very handy. And we're going to bring up a reference image of balloons. This one I also got off Pixabay. Just a few balloons piled up. And you can see it's transparent, sort of in the middle, and then it gets more diffused on the edge. And we're going to achieve this with the layer weight. Go Shift A, Input, layer weight, and if you have the Node Wrangler add-on, you can go Control Shift click on here twice so it's connected to the facing. And what's that done is it's added an emission shader so we can view this. And that's not quite the fall off we want. If you adjust this about right there, Control Shift click back over here, plug the facing as the factor. And we got them switched. There you go. We're gonna pick a color. Let's make it blue. We're gonna hover over Control C, Control V. We're gonna turn the saturation pretty far down. Okay. But you can see over here is it's darker on the both of the ends, where the knot is and on the very top. And that is because it's not a stretch there, so it's more saturated and darker. So to do that, we're going to go back into solid shading with Shift Z and select one view, hit / on the numpad, so we go into local view and hit V. This brings us into vertex paint. And make the color black. And if you hit Z, it'll bring up a wireframe. Just like that one. It's kind of a star shape on top, actually. And that's too big. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it all white and tab into edit mode. We need more geometry here. About like that. And make it black again, hit Z. And yeah, like that. And we also want it on the bottom. So tab into edit mode, and we want to select just this part. Tab back out, enable selection masking, and hit Shift H, so that'll hide all the rest. And next, I'm just going to start painting this black. Almost done here. About like that. Hit V again. And tab into edit mode, Alt H, and turn off selection masking and make it white. We don't want that harsh of a fall off, so we'll start painting this. Just like that. So now we have the top and bottom black. Hit V again. Shift Z, and oh, we forgot to If you hit / again, it'll bring back all the other balloons. And if you select one of them and hit V, they also have it because we duplicated, but they were linked by using Alt D instead of Shift D. Shift Z goes back into the wire rendered viewport. And how do we use that? Well, we go into Input, Vertex, Color, Control Shift click, and there it is. And what we're going to do is we're going to be using this as the factor. So, Control Shift click back on here, duplicate the diffuse and mix, and we want this one to be quite a bit darker, so we'll scroll down till it's about right there. And this is going to be the factor, and I think we got it switched. And maybe we'll make it even darker. Yeah, about like that. And next we're going to add the specular component. Shift A, shader, glossy, Alt, right click and drag, adds a mix node. And we're going to set the roughness to 0.075 and the factor to 0.05. Just so it adds a nice highlight. But we don't want the highlight on the darker parts, so to do that we'll just set this as the factor, but we don't want it a complete black and white value, so we'll add a converter color amp, drop that in there, and we'll make the white, we'll make that way darker, 0.2 value. 0.3. Yeah. And then we're going to add another specular component, Shift D, duplicate the glossy in the mix. And we actually want this to be 0 and 0.1. So that'll add just nice reflections with the bright specular highlight. But we want it to be more reflective as the surface faces away. Right there, you can see. So, way to do that, facing. And yeah, only one thing, we don't want it to, the darker parts to be reflective, same as before. Only since we already have one plugged in, we're going to add a color, mix RGB, Control Shift click on here, drag that into the top output, facing into the bottom, and hit multiply. Scale that up. There you go. Plug that as the factor. And very good. So, but we don't want all of our balloons the same color. And fortunately for us, we have, if you hit Shift A, Input, Object Info, Control Shift click, not that one, not that one, not that one, but the random output. That's exactly what we want. It's a black and white value that can control the hue, but you can't just plug that into a diffuse, because then they would make your balloons gray. So input RGB, I'm going to hover over, Control C, Control V, Control V, plug that into there. And if we Control Shift click on here, they're all blue. We're going to add a color, hue saturation. And this random output will go into the hue. And look at that. They're all different colors. If you Control Shift click back over here, now you'd think that we could just plug this into there and into there. I mean, it kind of works, but remember we had to change the value for the end parts because those look pretty bad. So, easy fix, hue saturation again, and turn the value 0.5. 0.2. Yeah, looks good. And we also changed the saturation for this one. So, hue saturation, This is going to plug into there, and the saturation we're going to change to 0.5. Maybe 0.4. Yeah, looks good. Okay. Let's adjust these colors. Maybe we need to turn this up. Yeah, there we go. That looks good. And if you don't like the colors that you get from this, you can add a converter and a math node. And yeah, set to add and just start sliding through all the colors. I think I like that one. And there you have it. That is how you create a nice bunch of blooms. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.